Arizona football hits the ball out of the park this weekend. What happened, and what is maybe the next step?
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it Locked On Wildcats. This show is brought to you by Gametime. Check it out. Download the Gametime app. All right, Arizona football does very, very good work this weekend. This was really about as big a weekend as you could possibly have for Arizona football. Everything that happened, you had a lot of visitors, and the commitments have come flowing in. You're going to have even more wink commitments come in. But let's talk about some of the players that have committed to back the A. First one is Dajon Hinton. Now, Dajon Hinton's father, David Hinton, was really, really good cornerback here, late 90s, on probably the best team in school history, 1998. But his kid, obviously Dejon, has been on the radar for quite a while. And when I tell you that he's been on the radar for quite a while, I mean quite a while. And he is he's a top 5, top 6 prospect in the entire state. I think a lot of people were kind of a little confused when he committed to ASU in the first place, but that also might have just been a spot where, you know what, you got to take it or leave it, and he took it. But Brent Brennan was able to get in with Hinton, and he is now a Wildcat. Now, look at Hinton's offer list, and this is kind of the epitome of what all people do. They're like, well, we didn't really want him anyway. And when you say you didn't really want him anyway, that means that he's not going to your school anymore, so you pretend that you didn't want him. Jason Shear does this all the time, although he said he's not going to do this anymore. We hope he doesn't. But Hinton, though, on a serious note, is really, really good. He's going to be a cornerback, not a safety. And you look at his offer list: Arizona, ASU, Oregon, Washington, Tennessee. He could have gone to a lot of different places, and Arizona is going to need cornerbacks coming in next year, because you got to figure that there's a good chance Tacario Davis is probably off to the NFL. And if he's off to the NFL, then you got to be looking for that next. Guy. Arizona's pretty shallow at that cornerback spot. Plus, you get a guy, and I know that he's transferred to Hamilton now, which is still cool. But you get in Hinton, you get a guy from Scottsdale Saguaro. You want players from Scottsdale Saguaro, because the players from Scottsdale Saguaro are good, and Arizona's not had a huge in there, so that's a good thing. Now, he's going off to Chandler Hamilton. That is obviously a big time school as well. You could probably make the case that and Chandler are the two biggest schools in the entire state when it comes to talent. So we will find that one out. But either way, a very, very nice job by Brent Brennan and staff of being able to get him in here and being able to again, it wasn't necessarily easy, but they did a very nice job. Hinton is a very nice pickup. Now, let's just keep going on and on down the roster. Alan Gant, you're going to see a lot of this, and this is going to be something that is going to be very, very familiar. A lot of Texas players. Alan Gant, the latest one, out of Lubbock, Texas. The 53rd rated player in all of Texas. And again, he's a safety, not a corner. He is a safety. And he projects as one of these players with the proverbial high upside, 6'1", 200 pounds, and like I said, can move, and he's going to compete for immediate playing time. Keep in mind, you'll have Genesis Smith back. You'll probably have Dalton Johnson, but Gunnar Maldonado's moving on. Owen Goss is moving on. There's going to be a possibility for immediate playing time for him, and I think that he's going to be able to embrace that, and I think that he's going to take just that. Again, getting into Texas is huge for Arizona, and I think that, like I said, if you're Brent Brennan, you got to feel really, really good about this commitment. Two very, very nice defensive backs that I think will be able to compete for immediate playing time. And we will, like I said, definitely keep you up to date on that, but I would certainly imagine that's the case. Then another one, stop me if you've heard this before. At that cornerback spot, Swade Griffin. First of all, the best name in the class by a mile, Swade Griffin. That is a fantastic name, but Swade Griffin can also play as well. Now, his father, Cedric Griffin, played for Dwayne Aquina at the University of Texas, then obviously went off to the NFL. Listen, and he was committed to Texas Tech. Dwayne Aquina gets involved, and he has flipped him to to Arizona. Another one, 6'1", 185 pounds, long, rangy, and his best football is clearly in front of him. Watching him, you can just kind of tell that he's the player that, he just kind of has a Texas feel to it. And that's kind of, obviously there's so many dudes from Texas, but it's very much of a Texas feel in this entire class. And I think you're going to continue to see that. I think that this is going to be Arizona really trying to take advantage of basically just take advantage of a situation where that looking forward, you're like, all right, well, Texas, you're going to be playing in front of Texas Tech, Houston, Baylor. You're going to have a lot of different options to be able to play in front of family and friends. And that is going to be something that I think is going to be very enticing for a lot of players. And Arizona is going to use that to their benefit, as they should. But Arizona, like I said, that is a very nice one as well. You look at these corners that they're getting committed, and it is a really, really good thing for the U of A. And I think that it's also fair to say that at this stage in the game, that Brent Brennan and his staff, they had an idea. They knew, we're going to take a little bit of that. We're going to take a little bit of that, just a little bit of time and get the right guys in here. Because I think that's the right thing. I think way too often teams are like, all right, well, we just got to get in here. We just got to be able to get players to be able to fill out the roster. But Arizona is not doing that. Arizona is basically saying that we're going to take our time. And not only are we going to take our time, we're going to get the right players. And so far, so good. Then another one that's really interesting, Sione Tohi. Now, from a modern day, Santa Ana, obviously, he is a player with a lot of offers. I'm surprised he's not more highly rated, but he started at Modern Day as a freshman. You start at Modern Day as a freshman, you've obviously got some skills, and you're fairly precocious. Again, fairly surprised he's not more highly rated, but a very good player. And Arizona needs guys on that interior line that can, especially, with a Wendell Moy possibly moving on. You got a couple years of Leif, obviously, but you need to be able to continue to solidify that. Getting Tohi in here is very, very nice. And he's somebody that's got that proverbial upside. And that's what you're obviously looking for if you're the U of A. You're looking for guys that have that upside to be able to develop. And you're like, okay, a year or two down the road, can you be a starter? Hopefully you can. And I think that's where it's kind of at for the U of A. So we will see that. But got some more commitments to talk about here in a second, but a very, very nice windfall of prospects here for the U of A. And like I said, the U of A fans should be very, very enticed by everything that's going on here, because this is a coaching staff clearly that gets it. One other thing too that you get is Gametime. Download the Gametime app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, listen, you might want to go to a game. You might want to go to a concert. You might want to go to a variety of different things. Gametime says, cut out the middleman, not cut out the middleman, but just join us, and you can get it in free or much cheaper in the meantime as well. Check it out, Gametime. There's another one of these ones we always talk about. You will thank me later on this. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. All right, now we've got more to talk about here. We're going to talk about some more players that have committed to the U of A. Another one that we'd obviously need, Caleb Jones out of Mountain Point in Phoenix, 6'1", 280, defensive lineman. Again, you're making a push to get bigger, to get stronger along the lines. It's another one. Had an ASU offer, an Arizona offer, obviously, as well. He committed quite a while. Well, Arizona knew that he was going to be a Wildcat a while ago, but it has finally come to fruition, and he is good. He's the kind of player that you can build with. Probably not going to be able to come in and play immediately, but he's going to be, you take a little bit of time, and he's going to be good. Like I said, very, very nice player, very nice prospect. Going to take some time, but that's the kind of guys you want to be able to get into Phoenix. You got to be able to get the kids that you can get. He was certainly a Division I prospect, and that is that. Now, another interior O-lineman that we got to talk about, Losapini Tupou from Archbishop Reardon in San Francisco, California. Again, you know that this staff, they know they got to get bigger on the lines. They know they got to continue to get better. And Tupou is that dude. He is just kind of like with the kid from modern day, that you could probably pencil him in. He's probably going to be pretty good. He's probably going to be pretty good immediately. So, well, not immediately, but after a couple years, then you get him into the starting lineup, and then I think you feel pretty good about yourself. But again, another kid, you're seeing the template right now. It's Arizona. It's California, it is Texas, and it is Arizona. Those are going to be the three places that you are going to try to make a huge splash with. And I think you're going to try to make a huge splash with that Polynesian community as well, because obviously those are where you can get some really big players. Arizona's had a very, very nice run with Polynesian players. I think you're going to continue to hopefully see that as well. But another really, really good prospect, has the kind of body that you can kind of, move around, put on some weight, and hopefully you get a starter at some point out of the mix. But, obviously there's even more guys we're going to talk about. And, but what this staff is going to do is that they are going to go for size, and they're going to go for speed, and they're going to states that obviously you have a lot of talent in. Look at another player like a Gianni Edwards, for example, out of Texas. He is not the highest rated player in the world, but you look at some of his offers. You got a Houston, you got a Colorado, you got a Boise State, you got obviously Arizona. And when you're in Texas, that's kind of the situation too, where you can be the 200th rated player in Texas, and you would be like the 10th rated player in Arizona. There's a lot to work with him there, and I think that's something that's been you've got to feel pretty good about. But overall, this staff is clearly showing that they understand what they're doing, that they get it, and I think that's something that if you're at U of A, you got to feel pretty good about, because again, we're kind of at the stage now where a lot of people are like, well, what's the coaching staff doing? I don't understand some of this. Well, the coaching staff is doing what they needed to do to be able to get these players, and I think it's going to be I think it's going to be fun to watch. Now, we're going to talk about some players that could possibly committing, some prospects that could be possibly committing here coming up in a second. Thanks for keeping it locked on, Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now, what could be next? You're going to continue to see Arizona dip into Texas. Now, there's going to be a couple other players that I would imagine are going to commit here in a couple days. But Arizona had 12 visitors on campus this past week, and it would not surprise me at all if all 12 players ended up committing to the University of Arizona. You don't really see that in this day and age. You don't really see kids that are that are of that ilk that go ahead and they're like, all right, well, we're all going to commit here together. Now, again, it's not like these are all 5-star kids, but these are kids that are recruited all over the country. These are all clear Power 5 players. None of these guys are the OKGs that we've talked about in the past, where your other offers are UT, Corpus Christi, and Tulane and stuff like that. These are kids with big time offers. And I think you also have a real sense that, Alonzo Carter obviously gets what he is doing. That is, and I think you're going to continue to see that happen. The more and more that this goes on, the more and more I think you're going to see that Alonzo Carter is that dude. Now, again, it took him a little bit of time. Keep in mind, when you touch ground from San Jose State to Arizona, it takes a little bit of time to be able to kind of look at your Rolodex, see what you need. But, you saw that fairly early on with the California kids. And now I think you're going to see that with the Texas kids as well, and then Arizona. But California, Texas, and Arizona, that is, I think, going to be your template there. And maybe you'll dip into other places when it is necessary. But I would look for this class to probably finish somewhere around 35. And that's all I need. We've talked about it before. But at Arizona, I would love to get top 25 classes. I don't necessarily need it, though. I need top 35 classes, top 40 at the least, where that you're getting a staff that can develop players, get them to where they need to be. And I think this is exactly what Brent Brennan and his staff have shown. You got to be resourceful at Arizona, but it's also not like you're recruiting in a place where you can't get any talent. It's not like you're at Colorado State or something to that effect. So I think Arizona should be able to do that. Now, coming up tomorrow, we're going to talk about even more players. There could be more commitments by then, and we will break those down. But like I said, I think this is going to shape up to be a fairly nice class for the U of A, and that's going to be something that I think is going to be really, really fun to see. But again, just, be patient with these things. Arizona, it took a little bit of time, but Brent Brennan and his staff, they knew they needed to strike, and they did exactly that. And Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about Robert McDaniel as well. He is shooting up the rankings as well. But on that note, very much appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Mike Luke, and we will be back with you tomorrow.